पीस के लिए, हार्मनी के लिए हम सबकी कोशिशें। ये सारी चीज़ों को जब हम सब्सटेंस करते हैं तो ये लगता है कि पूरा वैश्विक समाज जिस तरीके की महामारी के दौर से गुजर रहा है, उसने और जिंदगी में बहुत उथल-पुथल की, और एक व्यक्ति के घर में नहीं की, ये पूरे वैश्विक स्तर पे हुई। तो इसमें हमारी रोल क्या है, हमारी भूमिकाएं क्या हैं, हमारा प्रकृति के साथ अंतर संबंध कैसा है। हो सकता है ये अकेली महामारी जैविक भी हो, कुछ लोगों के सिरफिरेपन का नतीजा भी हो, कुछ पावर गेम भी हो, लेकिन बहुत सारी जो प्रकृति से असंतुलन के कारण इंसान के साथ जो मामला है, और तमाम बीमारियां होती हैं, सुनामी आती है, कहीं पहाड़ गिरते हैं, कहीं चक्रवात आता है, कहीं कुछ आता है, तो उन सब में जो इंसानियत का प्रश्न है, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग का मिशन है। कभी खबर आती है कि दिल्ली पर कुछ ऐसा फॉग क्रिएट हो गया है कि वो बहुत ज्यादा मतलब इंसानियत के लिए समस्या खड़ी कर रहा है, प्रश्न खड़े कर रहा है। तो प्रकृति इस प्रदूषण को एब्जॉर्ब नहीं कर पा रही है, और प्रकृति करे भी क्यों, हम प्रकृति के साथ रिश्ता नहीं बना पा रहे हैं। जब इंसान के साथ रिश्ते में उपस्थित नहीं है तो प्रकृति के साथ कैसे होगा। जिसका शोषण होगा उसका आर्तनाद होगा, और जिसका आर्तनाद होगा उसके दुष्परिणाम आएंगे ही, और वो सब इंसानी सभ्यताओं को भुगतना पड़ेगा। लेकिन हम सब उन्हीं नेगेटिविटी के बीच में पॉजिटिविटी की चिंता करते हैं। तो कैसे इस प्रदूषण को रोका जाए, कैसे इंसानों की ओर से इंसानियत की बात करी जाए, पीस एंड हार्मनी की बात करी जाए, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग की बात करी जाए, आज इन सब विषयों पर हम आप सबके नेतृत्व में बातचीत करेंगे। आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। नमस्कार।
Now I welcome Professor V.K. Goswami sir, who is the President of Global Environment and Peace Foundation and Chair Dr. B.R. AMBEDKAR University of Social Science, and today's chairperson of this webinar. So I handed over to for further proceeding to Professor V.K. Goswami. Professor V.K. Goswami जी, आपका स्वागत है। आप हमारे विश्वविद्यालय की चेयर भी हैं और आप एनवायरमेंटल पीस फाउंडेशन के अध्यक्ष हैं। आपका जो व्यक्तित्व है, आपकी जो प्रतिभा है, उससे हम सभी लोग परिचित हैं। ये वेबिनार भी आपकी संकल्पना है और मैं आपको आमंत्रित कर रहा हूं अग्रिम कार्यवाही के लिए। प्रोफेसर वी.के. गोस्वामी सर।
प्रोफेसर सुरेंद्र पाठक, मैं आपका बहुत अनुग्रहित हूं, और इससे पहले मैं कहूँ, मैं ऑनरेबल जो कुलपति महोदया हैं प्रोफेसर आशा शुक्ला, जो कि मुझे बहुत अफेक्शनेट हैं, मैं उनका बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि दैट शी हैज़ गिवन मी सच एन ऑनर टू बी अ चेयर ऑफ सच ए हाईली unique person named Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. Itself, the name gives you the motivation and again persuasion of knowledge and acquiring of knowledge. Because Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, everybody knows. I think once I was going through his very brief CV, and he had the specialty in 27 subjects, not one, and doctorate also not in one, at least the 4 doctorate he had already had. It reminded me another, my alma mater's founder, Sir Hari Singh Gaur. Because it's Sagar University, earlier it used to be. Now it is known as Sir Hari Singh Gaur. Dr. Hari Singh Gaur was Doctor of Science, Doctor of Literature, and Doctor of Law. And one more thing I tell you, such a person, that he even dedicated his personal residence for the residence of the Vice Chancellor of Sagar University. So when you get attached to such universities which have got the eminence people connected with that, you also get a lot of motivation. Once again, my gratitude and thanks to Professor Asha Shukla, and no doubt to Dr. Surendra Pathak also, to get me introduced to this great university and the great lady Vice Chancellor of the same university. Thank you very much. Once again, I put my gratitude to you for this very great honor to be having a chair, and I assure to the viewers in front of that I'll put all my best, whatever God has given me, the capacity of untiring hard work and capacity of mine. With this, now I welcome to all my galaxy of speakers today. I am really honored that they accepted my request in spite of being very busy, including even the Professor Asha Shukla, who is a Vice Chancellor. Of course, she is host. I belong now to the same family, so I am proudly can say that again I welcome to all of you on the behalf of both the organization, environmental organization, and Baba Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar University. That is small, indoor. Small is a beautiful place with a beautiful climate, and of course with the beautiful people. I have been there, and thank you very much once again. Now I must tell you, this is today's seminar. Is the people who are going to speak, my dear viewers, they are authority in themselves. Professor Shukla has already read about themselves, and you will find that actually it was very difficult. For me, everybody is a keynote speaker. Everybody is a chief guest today because people are so of eminence that they are so kind to join it. I am confident that with their experience, people will be happy to know. One more request, I have to very unpleasant task of being a chair of this complete conference, that I have to just raise my hand when your 3 minutes are left. So all my distinguished speaker, please pardon my this audacity if I have to do it. We don't want to stop you, but we really want to adhere to the discipline of the environment. Had we been disciplined in the environment, this environment pollution could not be there. What we have done, God gave us a very beautiful nature, very beautiful environment, a clean environment. But He gave us clean air, He gave us clean water, He gave us uh, clean land. There was no pollution, and it was a very peaceful environment. It is we who has made this environment totally polluted. Only complete one blunder, I always say, that he gave us everything free of cost, and we didn't realize the importance of that. So let's have take the right from the beginning of this webinar today, that we will take a vow today that we will preserve the planet, our Mother Earth planet, free of all type of pollution, whether it is air, whether it is water, whether it is your plastic, or even a mind pollution, I must say. And once the pollution is not there, environment is clean, people are healthy, diseases will not be there, peace will automatically be prevail. So with this, I welcome to all. And the first thing I now request, very affectionate friend of mine. He is not 1 year, he is not 2 years, he is not 3 years. From last 48 years, I have observed, and एक कहावत है हिंदी में कि पेड़ में जितने फल लगते हैं वो पेड़ उतना ही झुकता है. तो एयर वाइस मार्शल डॉक्टर अजीत त्यागी, an example of that tree which has got a lot of fruits, but is so humble, so polite. And it's not a one day experience I'm talking to you. I am talking to you from for 48 experience. We worked together in Air Force. We got training in the Air Force together. He's a total human and down-to-earth person. And you know, Professor Shukla has already talked about him. And now I won't take more time and request. I call him Ajit, so pardon my telling sometime. I will be calling most of the time Ajit only. He's so affectionate to me. So I now request Air Vice Marshal, Professor Dr. Ajit Tyagi, as a keynote speaker to throw the light on this particular topic, for which he is not only a master, he is a patron of this particular topic. Professor Ajit Tyagi.
Thank you, Goswami sir, for your kind words. Like elder brother, you had been generous, and so had been Honorable Vice Chancellor, Madam. It's been a pleasure to be here today, this evening, on the eve of Independence Day. Greetings to all eminent speakers and participants. The let me compliment BR University and the Environment and Peace Foundation for having conceived this particular webinar on a very important topic. We just had
सर आपकी आवाज कम आ रही है
आवाज कम आ रही है
जी और वीडियो भी ऑन नहीं है
वीडियो की तो जब मतलब उससे कई बार बैंडविड्थ की प्रॉब्लम होती है इसलिए मैंने ऑफ रखा है पर आवाज का मैं देखता हूँ माइक लगा के कि अब कैसी है
अभी बेटर है जी
अच्छा मैं जोर से बोलूँगा तो we had on 9th of August release of IPCC 6 assessment report which all of you must have gone through, so that gives a setting for my talk, and also the other talks which are going to be the environment pollution. One of the reasons for the climate change essentially is the environmental pollution, and as brought out here that we have not respected the nature, and we are now paying for this our own fault, and if we don't address to this problem, it is going to be really a big challenge for all of us. So may I now request somebody to screen my presentation? Okay, since time is on premium, let me start. If presentation get loaded in meantime is okay. Essentially, I am going to talk about the climate system, the science behind it, the climate change indicators, its impact, projection, and finally the interventions in the form of mitigation and adaptation. And what is India's initiative? 15 minutes is a premium time, so I'll go through some of the basics in little detail, and rest all the facts which you all know I'll rush through. My presentation will be available to somebody who wants to go through in detail. Because of 15 minutes, I am sure I am not able to do justice to all the slides. Are there any problem with my presentation? Okay, I can cover without presentation also. So let me continue. See, in this in the universe, if you look at it, the Earth is a tiny speck, but we are fortunate enough to have that. This is the only place where we have got a living organism. It is essentially because of a very favorable climatic conditions. We have a temperature of mean temperature of 15 degrees centigrade, whereas our neighboring planets have temperature as high as 60 to 70 degrees centigrade, somewhere minus 70 degrees centigrade. So we are existing here because of favorable climatic conditions. And now, if we look at the climate system, though we see it as a mean condition of weather, but it is interplay of many subcomponents of the Earth system, which is starting from the atmosphere, cryosphere, biosphere, geosphere, and hydrosphere. So whether ocean, atmosphere, glaciers, Arctic, Antarctic, forest. So all these things you see is able to come in interplay of these gives rise to the climate of a place. And any changes of any of these subcomponents impacts the climate. Any change in the climate also impacts our water availability and many other melting of glaciers, sea level rise. So there is a very close relationship between the subsystems of the Earth system, which leads to the climate, and the climate influencing these subsystems. Now, if we look at it, how does our climate has been maintained is because of the greenhouse gases in the environment, which allows the shortwave radiations to come in, and longwave radiations get trapped. Some of them get reflected, some is downwards to the earth, and some goes back to the space. Now this has been in perfect balance for long period, and we had a climate which was showing natural variability but changes which used to be very slow. In thousands of years there may be a change of 1 degree centigrade, but in the recent years, because of increase in this greenhouse gases, what we are finding is global warming taking place, and that is resulting into a rate of change of temperature which has been more than 1 degree centigrade. Now is 1.2 degree centigrade in last 100 years plus. And this is resulting into changes in all the indicators of the Earth system. See, 40 years back, if we look at when the scientists started talking about climate change and started warning in 1980s, the beginning when the IPCC was being set up, people were, skeptics. Even the scientists used to say, "Oh, these are all hawks." But now it has been vindicated that climate scientists were talking was hard fact, and the society has not reacted or acted on upon this, and we are now in a very difficult situation. So if you look on any of the indicators, starting with the increase in the greenhouse gases, we are now at 414 ppm of carbon dioxide, which normally used to be in the past between 200 and 250 ppm. So we have crossed the threshold. Next comes the temperature. So everybody is now talking of global warming, global warming, global warming. It's a fact. We have instrumented observations data of last 200 years which proves that temperatures are increasing in mean of 1.2 degrees centigrade. At places it is much higher. Ocean temperature is also increasing, and the capacity to absorb CO2 in the oceans and the land is decreasing. Melting of glaciers, another things which is happening, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, Arctic, Antarctic. So we are, sea level rise is another, ocean acidification is another factor, extreme weather events. Now you talk of extreme weather events, all of us are witnessing, the globe is witnessing. In fact, the Secretary General of WMO came out with the state of climate. So last decade had been the warmest decade in the history. Last 6 years have been the warmest years, including 2020. And last year, the Siberia experienced temperature of 40 degrees centigrade. And now you must have seen that North Columbia of Canada had a 49.3 degrees centigrade. So these are the unusual temperature. Nobody would have even dreamt of these such heat waves and the deaths which are taking. Vancouver has an unusual death of 130 people on a single day. We are having forest fires. As of now, as I speak, Spain, Greece, and adjoining areas are facing severe forest fires. All these are the manifestations of the climate change. So it is a reality of life that yes, we are having, and now people have accepted it. But somehow, though the science is good, but the politics is not good. There has been lobbies, the politicians, the developing countries, the oil lobby, and even the people who are in the mass consumption and mass generation of many products. They are pushing a lifestyle which is not sustainable, which gives a lot of CO2 emissions, greenhouse emissions, and we are paying the price. Now, as far as science is concerned, started from 1980s, there had been steady progress in the modeling of climate models, which used to be very simple, just atmospheric model. Now we have complex models which includes geosphere, biosphere, oceans, atmospheric chemistry, everything is there, and the models have perfected with the help of supercomputing and the observations. Both, we have got satellite observations which are in gigabytes, which goes into climate models. We have got supercomputing which can simulate last 200 years of climate. We have got data which is from ice cores, tree rings to simulate the past climate and the observed data of present. So we have got fairly good data sets, good observations which goes into model, and models are now perfect, near perfect, though uncertainty, because they are able to give a mean state, under different scenarios of carbon dioxide which is going to be in the future. So we have four situations. If we cut the CO2, what is going to happen? Yes, will be less than 1.5 degrees centigrade. If we continue in the present, it may reach to 2.5, and if it increases our consumption, it may go to 4 degrees centigrade by the end of the century. The recent, report by the Secretary General released on 9th is very alarming. In fact, if you had the opportunity to go through the language, he had been very honest and frank. He said it's a red code. IPCC assessment report of the Working Group 1, the warming is taking fast. Instead of 2050, it may be that 1.5 degree be crossed by 2030. And that associated this impact on our all the indicators which impacts us, and thereafter their impact on our food security, our water security, our energy requirements. And what is going to happen with this is that the poor countries, poor people are going to be affected, though it is not going to leave even the rich people. Let it be assured that climate change is going to impact each and every one. No region is going to be affected. But obviously, the resilience of poor people is much less. So it will lead to migrations, maybe conflicts between the nations, leading to even the war. There will be food riots can take place if the prolonged drought is there. All these things are going to be in next 15 to 20 years. We are talking of COVID. It was a shock to us, and we were not prepared for it. But unfortunately, knowing for last 30 years that this climate change is going to be even bigger challenge for all of us, it will become irreversible. In some cases, we have not been taking due actions. So this is what we, the academia, the research community has to take a leadership role, that until unless, you see, the politics is one part, but public advocacy. And this is what is going to, see, the environment peace we are talking about. So peace will come only when there is a good environment. There is enough food for people, there is enough water for people, then only the peace will be there. We may talk of peace, but with all these things happening, it will lead to much more conflicts and problems and the difficulties for the large amount of people. So the point here is climate change is irrefutable. It is based on hard data. Our climate models are now reliable. They do provide a good mean conditions, though local and regional, though IPCC 6 has come out with the regional descriptions also of the climate change, and they have come out with the atlas which can be used by the policymakers. But until unless we start taking action, and which requires involvement of each and everyone, right from the individual in our lifestyle, whether people have said that if you move from a non-veg to veg diet itself can cut down large amount of CO2 emissions. So then the community part of it, the academia and research community has to work out with the alternate technologies, technical people who are, energy efficient, no CO2 emissions. So all these things are very much required. Thereafter, of course, the governments and the global community. Now, unfortunately, though we had at IPCC, it led to the UNFCCC, and then COP every year takes place, and then we had the Kyoto Protocol, then Paris Agreement. But their enforcement by the rich countries had been lacking. They didn't put their money, their technological, support to combat the climate change, and we are now paying price for it. So now they have come up with the nationally determined targets, NDCs, which each country has decided to follow it. I am happy to say that at least India is meeting those targets. We are going in a big way in green energy, cutting down fossil fuel, but the developing countries have got commitment to their populations to raise their living standards and meet their requirements. So it has a judicious balance between the non-renewable and renewable energy, but we are on the way in a big way, so this is very heartening. Similarly, there are other options which needs to come from the technology part of it, the green buildings and many other things which are there, the town planning in a way that we have less consumption of energy. So these all things are there because the heat waves, as brought out, if the temperature goes by 2 to 3 degrees centigrade, it may lead to a large number of deaths. Large number of deaths in Europe. If you remember, in 2003 there were 70,000 deaths because of heat waves. So, and heat waves with urban islands and many other things will be unmanageable. In fact, the COVID scenes which we had seen, the hospitals can be replicated because of heat waves if temperatures rise by 3 to 4 degrees centigrade in the mean, and the extremes may go up as high as 6 to 7 degrees centigrade. So it is a time here, and the social, though the science is one part, but the social studies is equally important. The behavioral change which is required. Most of the leadership comes from the social study stream. So we have to educate our students and the policy makers and decision makers that we need to start taking necessary actions on priority urgently, so that we can keep this warming less than 1.5 degrees centigrade, which is likely to, if we don't act now, it is instead of 2050, it may be in 2030, and associated impacts and challenges will be faced by all of us. And mass extinction, it is not a place for me to warn about it. Regional mass extinction is taking place. It has happened in Canada, it has happened in Australia because of forest fires, and large-scale mass extinctions of many species may take place if we don't able to combat climate change. Since the prime culprit of this is environment pollution, I am happy all leading personalities in the country who deal with the pollution control, pollution monitoring are here, and they should come out with a good solution to combat environment pollution, which positively will lead to less global warming and mitigation of climate change. Thank you so much. I am sorry that there was a mismatch. I am not able to have the presentation, but this slide itself, would you come back to the last slide, previous slide, please? Yeah. So this sums up the impact of global warming. A warmer atmosphere will lead to the warmer oceans, more evaporations, changing conditions in the plants and animals, melting of snow cover. This will in turn lead to the second stage, rising of sea levels, stronger storms, cyclones, more droughts and wildfires, changing seasonal patterns, that some seasons may prolong, some will be short, shifting of the ranges and migrations will take place, habitat less, ecosystem, this decade is going to be the restoration of ecosystems, but the climate change will put much more pressure. Earth absorbs more energy, will take place. And all these things are very scientifically related. And so the crux lies in combating or reducing the global warming, which is directly related to the CO2 and the greenhouse gases. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And it will be a pleasure for us, all of us, to work together. Social scientists and environmental scientists together can work together to bring peace and the prosperity in the country. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Air Vice Marshal Ji. You see, I was having no tension that I have to point out to him, because he is an Air Force officer, and dot 15 minutes he has completed his talk, that too without the PowerPoint presentation. We again thank to the admin also, who could succeed at the last moment to show the beautiful PowerPoint presentation, where Professor Tyagi has very elaborately and in a very summarized, precise way, he has told what is the effect of climate change. And the last slide was really beautiful. I need not to repeat that. That gives you the complete essence of the climate change. Why climate change should be inhibited or it should be restricted, because there's nothing left in the human environment which will not be affected with the climate change. Climate change is like the epidemic of corona, COVID-19, which has not spared any of the corner of the world. Similarly, this climate change will not be kind to any corner of the world if it is not controlled. He also talked about the ocean acidification, and the new aspect here checked or rather touched that the politicians should also take active understanding of this thing. Unless they understand this climate change, the decision at the higher level is only possible. And once this political decision is taken, then the IPCC or the Paris Agreement, which was there, 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius temperature has to be maintained, and they are now put the target of 2030 cannot be achieved. I once again thanks to Professor Ajit Marshall Tyagi for this, and now I think all Tyagis are very much talented people, and God has given them a lot of knowledge. And with this, Professor S.K. Tyagi is now requested to give his experience of the long, the things. He was in the pollution, he was in the air pollution, he was in the all type of pollution, but he remained unpolluted like a flower of lotus. So he will now tell you the practicality, how to control the pollution, particularly air pollution. Professor Tyagi, rather S.K. Tyagi, who happens to be also my very close friend, now you are welcome to give your talk. Professor Tyagi. We can see your presentation.
Thank you, Professor Goswami, for giving me this opportunity to talk among so eminent fraternity. Is my presentation visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And my voice is also okay?
Yeah, it's
Yes, sir.
well,
Yes, sir.
Is it coming on full screen? Hello? I'm doubtful if it is coming on the full screen.
Yes, sir, it is coming. Yes, sir. It's full screen, sir.
Okay, then okay. Thank you very much. I am very honored to be here today among so eminent fraternity. I thank Professor Goswami, Professor P.B. Sharma ji, and Professor Ajit Tyagi ji for giving me this opportunity. I will be talking on the greening the movers, environmental impact on the climate change. I am not able to move it. Let me share again. Sorry. I have to share it again, sir, because this was not moving.
Dr. S.K. Tyagi, you are not able to see your presentation?
No, I am able, but it is not moving. Slide is not moving.
No, you just scroll that thing, it should move.
I think now it is visible.
Yes, it is moving now.
Okay,
Visible
now
also.
it is moving. Now it is moving.
Yes.
Thank you so much
Yes, yes.
to bear me. So all you know that pre-industrial area. If you
Sir, it's black.
hello, yes, please.
Sir, it's completely black. Uh,
Completely black. Why?
no, it was visible. It was not black. Now it is black.
Now are the slide moving? Can you see them?
No, sir.
It is not coming.
Oh,
Sir, I am sharing. Please,
please you share then.
so please stop sharing from your side.
Okay.
So now the
Yes,
screen is shared by Surendra Pathak sir from admin.
now it's visible, sir.
Sir, it's coming. You can start with your presentation.
Okay,
Sir.
okay, please. I have stopped.
Please, sir, continue.
But I am not able to see it.
So you,
Is it visible to others?
yes, as it is visible to others.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
The slide number 1. In 1970-50, the total carbon dioxide available. This slide is
But it is not visible to me now.
so you can open your in
Then
your
I can open my own slide, okay?
in,
And then you can yourself keep changing, okay?
yes.
So that will better. So I was discussing that this problem mainly aggravated when we started the industrialization in the world. In 1750, the total carbon dioxide available in our environment was 228 parts per million, 228 only, which has reached now to 419 ppm level. So it is almost double, you can say. So this is because of the only because of the human interferences. Next, you can see change, and this is result of the in our human interventions, and particularly not only the industries but also the deforestation. So you can see we have cut a lot of forest, particularly the developed countries, and that's why they are now facing this problem and putting pressure on the developing countries not to cut the forest and to contain the carbon dioxide, because forests act as sink for the CO2. And last year when we had COVID, we have experienced most warm year 2020 on the record of the NASA, because there was direct penetration of the sunlight due to less pollution. in the environment worldwide. You can change to the next slide. The global average surface temperature change is depicted in this relative to 1986. And you can see the different scenarios as modeled by the experts, scientists, that the increase in the temperature may be there up to 4 degree if we have not controlled the global warming. And minimum global warming at present has already occurred above 1 degree, 1.4 something. And if we keep the same pace of our human activities, this will rise to about 4 degree, up to 4 degree by the end of this century. Next, sixth assessment report has been released by the IPCC on 9th of this August only, which has stated that more than 1.5 degree Celsius mark is over pre-industrial level between 2021 and 2040. It will reach 1.5 degree or more probably by 2030 itself. This intergovernment panel on climate change has a group of 234 scientists which have peer reviewed more than 40,000 research papers and then have reached on these conclusions which are given in this report. So there is no doubt to disbelieve this report. And CO2 level has crossed 416 ppm, which is the highest in 2 million years as reported by the IPCC. So you can see the pace of the growth of the CO2 level and the global warming after the industrialization and population growth. So world is on the track to see an increase in global temperature by around 3 degree by the end of the century itself. And there are some models which even tell it may reach up to above 5 degree, 5.7 degree between 2081 and 2100. So there is no time to lose now. We have to act. Next, please. There are some facts based on this report. In the next 20 years, the global warming will breach the threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius. If we continue to emit the greenhouse gases as now, global warming will be above 2 degrees by mid 21st century. With every 1 degree rise in temperature, there will be a 7% increase in intensification of extreme rain events Carbon dioxide concentration is highest in 2 million years. Sea level rise is the fastest in last 3000 years. Arctic sea ice is lowest in last 1000 years. Some changes we cannot reverse anymore, at least for next thousand of years. Particularly the extinct species we cannot bring back. Ice melting will continue for next 1000 years, even if we manage to control our greenhouse emissions. Now, ocean warming will continue, which has increased by 2 to 8 times from 1970s. Sea level rise will continue for hundreds of years. And the world is making efforts for long and strong determinations were made during the Paris Convention in 2015, COP21. According to the Paris Climate Accord, developed countries have to give 100 billion US dollar to developing countries for the transfer of technology so that they use the renewable energy and not the fossil fuel for energy, because energy is the basic requirement for the development. And Trump could not support that, and we could not achieve the target which we fixed in Paris 2015 convention. However, now it is good news that Joe Biden rejoined the Paris Climate Accord after the Donald Trump walked away. So there is some hope now. And as already Air Vice Marshal Professor Ajit Tyagiji has briefed various associated impact of the climate change, changing rainfall patterns and irregular weather, higher temperature leading to the sea level rise, storm and cyclones, and not only that but also affecting our economy, GDP. So it is said by the scientists that there will be 10% reduction in the GDP if there is a 3 degree Celsius increase in the temperature by end of this century. And if it is more, then it will be certainly more loss to the economy. There will be almost extinction of the penguin by 2020, this end of this century, due to melt of the ice. So that now is very well understood by all of us. We are already witnessing many coastal cities, many hilly areas. We are shocking floods are occurring, and their frequency is increasing year by year. Recently we had flash floods in Himachal, Uttarakhand, and we had history of the floods in Mumbai, Srinagar, Hyderabad, Chennai. So you can take many names where these are occurring very frequently. not only this, for the first time we are now witnessing that this is also impacting so-called developed countries. The flash floods in Germany, Belgium, whole Western Europe, you can say. Then heat waves in Canada, forest fire, as Dr. Tyagi told, in many regions of the world are direct indication of the global warming and its impact worldwide. Though India is not a big contributor to the CO2 emission, if you see the per capita emission of CO2, it is only 1.91 for India. But because of the population, we have more population, the contribution to the world total CO2 emission is about 7%. But there are other countries, developed countries and Gulf countries, which have very, very high per capita income, per capita CO2 emission. So you can see here China has about 7.38. So it is roughly, you can say, 4 times from India. Then you can see the Russia, 11.44. So it is many times higher than India. Then you see the Canada, which preaches to whole world to control the emissions, 18.58 per capita emissions. So it is 9 times high than the India. Then you come to the United Arab Emirates, is the 23.37, because they are very rich in oil and they are using electricity enormously. Similarly, in Qatar, per capita 37.29. This is the highest. So you can compare now the India with all these countries. So per capita income, CO2 emission is not too high, but certainly we make in aggregate some contribution and we have to control this. But if you see the diplomacy behind this, these developed countries has already developed, they have not taken any precaution, neither they have preserved their forest, and neither they are still controlling their electricity consumption and energy consumption. And they are continuing to consume that at the same level because they are developed. So the consumption of the energy is directly related to your development. So they want us to remain developing. So we cannot be developed until unless we increase our development and increase the energy consumption. So this is a contradiction. Only there is a way that who have developed, who have used the resources, they should now compensate that and they should transfer the free technology or the money to underdeveloping and developing countries so that they can use the new technologies to reduce the fossil fuel and use the alternative and renewable energy instead of the fossil fuel energy. So that is the main issue, and on that there should be agreement and that should be implemented in true spirit. Then only we can believe that we can control this as targeted. These are some figures you can see. in total aggregate emissions, we come if you see the most contributing country is China, which is alone contributing because huge population is there, and they are in totality they are consuming more energy. So 24, so 1/4 contribution of the world is only from China, then followed by the US and EU countries if you put them together, and then comes India, and followed by Russia, Japan and Brazil. So of course we also have some responsibility, but per capita emission is not too high. You can see in per capita we are the lowest, and you can see United States and other Gulf countries which I told are very in the top category. So now I am coming to the cumulative CO2 emission, and if we have achieved our promised targeting, then there will be slight change only in the total CO2 emission contribution. So you cannot say that it will be totally eliminated. So, but there will be some impact. That graph will slow down little bit. If you see the CO2 emission due to different sources, then electricity, generation of the electricity, because we are dependent on mostly on the fossil fuel, and we have very less contribution of hydro and other alternate sources like solar. Until now, we have mostly fossil coal-based thermal power plants, and we have more consumption of the fossil fuel, diesel, petrol in the transportation. So these two are the top sources of the CO2, power plants and the transportation. So why I am discussing this, that these two sources alone are contributing to the, you can say 58, about 60%. So it is essential to control CO2 emission from these sources. Another sources are industries 21%, and residential and commercial 12%, and agriculture only 9%. If you see the greenhouse gas emission from the transport, now we are narrowing down to the transport. Government has already decided policy by 2040. All the fossil fuel based coal thermal power plant will be closed. Only electricity will be generated by other sources. And they have that fossil fuel based electricity generation will be reduced by 30% by 2030. That is already decided. Roadmap is ready for that.
Excuse me, Dr. S. K. Tyagi, would you kindly conclude?
Yes. Hello, sir. So now
He is asking you to conclude, my dear, because the time is short.
So we are coming to the main topic, that we all know the population of the vehicle in our metro cities particularly, and Central Pollution Control Board and Ministry of Environment has taken a lot of initiatives to control that pollution, and these are the major regions of the vehicular pollution problem: high vehicular density, older vehicles, inadequate inspection and maintenance, then adulteration of fuel, improper traffic management, high level of pollution at traffic intersections, and high population exodus to urban centers. This is the fleet size increase by 2030, you can see here exponential growth, 150% increase by 2030, and this is the composition of the vehicle kilometer travel by different modes. So you can see the two-wheelers are maximum, followed by the car, and then trucks. So we should focus on these and how we can do that so that our total CO2 budget can be minimized. So there are some basic facts. Passenger vehicle at present are 1 billion, and they are going to be 1.5 times more. That is 1.5 billion by 2050. So what we require now? We require improving the fuel efficiency and diversifying use of the fuel, reducing CO2 to prevent global warming, and making emission cleaner vehicles. And that is possible by vehicle electrification. These are other already these India 2000, Bharat stage 2 to now Bharat stage 6 we have come. So lot of emissions have already been reduced, and this is the roadmap we have followed for the benzene reduction in the gasoline. This is the roadmap of the lead phase out in the gasoline. So these two, which were very, very injurious, which affect the nervous system and are carcinogenic, these element has been minimized, almost negligible in the gasoline. And this is the sulfur reduction uh, from 0.5% to 0.05% now in the diesel. And now these are other emission treatment systems called particulate filters in the diesel and buses to reduce the pollution. You can see the on the right side almost from left black to white. So lot of emission of carbon black has also been controlled. Then now recently, only yesterday, Prime Minister has also announced the scrappage, vehicle scrapping policy for older than 15 and 20-year vehicles. So those they were emitting more pollution. Then CNG has been introduced. Hybrid vehicles are coming now, and also the electric cars are coming, and which will be say you can say emission zero emission vehicle. So now these are coming, and the target of the government. And I will just say that this two-wheeler will change the scenario. As I told you, the maximum contribution is from the two-wheeler. So two-wheeler, if we change the mode to electric mode, so lot of pollution will be reduced, CO2 will be reduced, and these are the different types of these electric vehicle. I am not going into those details. Some are hybrid, some are uh, hydrogen based, and some are battery operated. So I am not going into those details. And these are the another scenarios of pollution reduction, CO2 reduction as modeled by different models. So there will be 20% reduction, there will be 40% reduction by using the electric vehicle. So this by the electrification of the vehicle, we will reduce lot of the CO2 burden. I would like to say, and now I am just, and these are certain initiative by the government of India in the form of different missions for the sustainable development, including the solar mission. And this is, we have already installation capacity of 100 gigawatt of solar energy, and we will be having 450 gigawatt by 2030, and that energy will be used for various purposes. There are other various non-technical measures also which required. So I am just going to now close my presentation. So we can generate 40% of non-fossil fuel energy. We have the capacity. So this is the right time. Time is running out, and we should act now. So, and we should always give emphasis to grow the tree, deforestation, because they are the sink of the carbon capture. Thank you very much for giving me your valuable time and listening me very patiently. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. S. K. Tyagi. Dr. Tyagi covered in a very comprehensive manner and the statistical data he has projected, the latest 2021 data, and also talks about the methodology, how to control especially the fossil fuel, the pollution which happens due to the toxic gases and the greenhouse gases. Thank you very much, Dr. Tyagi. And now I request a very dear friend of mine, Dr. Chand Bhardwaj, and since he's very dear to me, and I request all the future coming, they must see my face, whether they like me or not. And when I raise the finger, it doesn't mean that I am fingering anybody, but it is a request being made that the 3 minutes are left to kindly conclude your talk so that the other people can also get time to talk. At the same time, people don't get delayed for their dinner, especially by very nice viewers who are sitting here. Thank you very much. And Dr. Chand doesn't require any introduction. Professor Shukla has already talked about him. I will say only one line about him, that if you see a coin of humanity, it has got 2 phases. One is science and the other is spirituality. And Dr. Chand is that coin. Thank you very much, Dr. Chand.
Thank you very much. Thanks, and I would like to thank Asha Shuklaji for taking me there as a chair on science and spirituality. And today's subject is so close to spirituality, because the whole cosmos is one living entity. It has got a super soul in it. It has got a universal mind, and it has got a universal body. So it's a living entity. And how we are also part of that, because my body is part of that, of the whole. As my finger is part of my body, I am part of the whole, And this is what, if I keep the whole environment healthy, only then I can survive here. So what I need, we got to look into this environmental area through spirituality. Of course, science has given all these data, as you have heard, that this is how we are spoiling the whole world. And who is spoiling? Each individual is contributing. And each individual is busy for his material needs and the extra needs of the mind, which is really multiplying the needs into various aspects, lust, anger, ego, attachment, deceit, fears, and worries, etc. So this is what multiplies your needs, and this is what you are doing. But it is a senseless thing. The whole humanity is destroying this planet, and as Ajit Tyagiji mentioned, that it is one place in the whole galaxy. We could see only one place where we are living. We couldn't find any other place where there is a living place. So now, through spirituality, to understand the spirit of the whole cosmos, we call it as cosmic cognitive restructuring. So we must understand this cognition has to be there with each one of us. 7-odd billion people on this earth should get that spiritual knowledge that they are here on a time-bound material planet. And it is here for a while, and we have got a small little window of 100 years when we come here. Approximately, we are designed to live 120 or 130 years, but we hardly do that. So the lifespan is getting lesser and lesser every time. But this wisdom, which is my soul, which is my spirit, has to work on that information which is your mind. So I'll just again sum it up that we are that soul, that creative intelligence which is connected to its source in real time. We have got an acquired mind and a created body. So now understanding this part, and we are here for a short while. During this while, we should not spoil this earth in such a manner that the next generations will not be able to use it. So there is a life to this planet, and we got to make it easy as we organize this life when we are here, we want to organize that we should have a small little balance to look after us in the old age and all that, those pension areas and everything. So it is something for the whole humanity, that we got to work in a manner that the people in the next generation should be able to live nicely. As Ketyagi was explaining about 228 carbon, that he was explaining his data, that now it is, in 1750 it was 228, but now it is 419. Now look, the rate it is going up, and the warming rate, which was decided to be 1.5 degrees Celsius, it is already running out, It is 4 degrees Celsius. That's how he predicted that this is how it is going to go there. And now if you look, the soul of a person does not bother for others, because we have developed that selfish genes in us. Right from when we acquired the mind and created the body, and once we became human beings here, we started looking, we thought we are a body only. And once we thought that we are a body, we've been doing everything for this body and trying to kill others and eat, doing everything for this body. And we did not understand that we are a soul. So this spirituality seat here is connected to each and every field of life, It is connected with the commerce, it is connected with science, it is connected with all your general living and the social sciences, So the spirituality is the most important part here, that if we can know that we are that creative intelligence with our outer expression as attention. So we got to use this attention judiciously for all these, all living here, how we are spoiling things. As Madam mentioned about Delhi's pollution, and that Purali burning in the Haryana and these Punjab areas, how much it can suffocate the people living in Delhi and all around, of course. They are also involved in it. Because this Purali burning makes you choke. You can't even breathe. So now there are certain things we all have to see, that what all goes due to this environmental pollution, it all flows down to the seas. And that's how the plastic is there in the sea, and how the sea with all those pollutants is getting hotter, And I could know through some Vedic literature that if the temperature of the surface of the sea rises beyond 25, 26 degrees, then it develops that cyclones there due to that heat of the water. And that's how it does. And then, all these cyclones spoil so many lives, and so much of damage is done. But then there was a shloka there in those scriptures that if Varuna Devta, it means if the water can be put there, it can quench the prokop of the sun. That's how those shlokas are there, which I don't remember that way. But I am scientifically explaining that hot sun, which has raised the temperature of the surface of the sea, which gives birth to a cyclone. Now, what somebody suggested, a good scientist here, that we should put certain ships in those areas, don't allow that temperature to rise from more than 25 degrees. By putting some of the ships there, which can have the submersible pumps down below in the sea where the temperature is 3 degrees Celsius. So you can pump that water as a spray over many areas, a good number of ships can be put there, and that's how you can quell that part, you can stop that cyclone to develop there. So this is how the knowledge, the science, and the spirituality of each one of us. We are 7-odd billion people here, and each one of us is responsible for this carbon emission. If all of us understand, and we give our attention to the judicious needs of the body and judicious needs of the mind, then something wonderful can happen. And this is how I would like to work on this area, as Madam Shukla has really put these chairs there and together we can work on it and see that 7-odd billion people of Earth should understand this phenomena. All these data in a condensed form should reach each and every one, because the media can take all this to them. So now we can organize something on spiritual basis, that we are divine, and divine has got beautiful attributes, which is love, compassion, mercy, wisdom, humility, state-of-art planning ability and its execution ability. Let us face as it comes, justice, etc. These are all divine attributes of the soul, whereas mind deals with information regarding experiences in this body, which is, hunger, clothes, housing, vanities of the world, sex and sleep. And mind deals with information, lust, anger, ego, attachment, deceit, fears and worries, etc. Now, if we can understand that we have got that ability within each one of us, which we do not know, we ignore. So, the mind being ignoring the soul, So what we have to learn now, the soul, which is the outer expression, is attention. So attention has to be trained through education to ignore the ignorant mind, for which it is involving you and spoiling this small little place, in the whole cosmos here. And this small little, so beautiful planet, if you see certain scenes, you go to hills and mountains, this is how we are spoiling it, my dear. For the next generations, what we are going to give to our children, all that, and this is what is going to spoil. So now my point is only this, that we must educate the whole world on spirituality and tell them that this has got the solutions. Whereas the mind is only informing, my dear. The data which we have seen now, that this is how it is increasing, this is all job of information. But then what to do on this information? Each one of us, 7-odd billion people on this earth, should know all this and start working. As Tyagiji been saying, Ajit Tyagiji been telling about the vegetarian diet. Because if we all eat meat, etc., then the carbon footprint is much higher. And if we are vegetarians, then something wonderful happens. So now this is what has to be known, that 5,000 liters of water is needed for a kettle, instead of 500 liters we can manage. If we don't develop those meat industry, killing animals and all. So we got to understand this through spirituality. And because spirituality gives you that balanced view of life, it really tells you how to deal economically with things, then, this is going to touch each and everything. Because your attention can go through this universal mind also, which is embedded with information system and laws of nature. You put your attention, you can know about physics, chemistry, because it is all there in the cosmos. It is only you put your attention, as Newton did that. Apple falls and he starts calculating the laws of nature, the gravitational fields, etc. So it is your attention which is, I would like to call it that way, that we are in a position to say that we should be master of all and jack of none. Whereas earlier it used to be that one has to be master of one and jack of all. But now, with this information, technology and everything, we are that soul, we are part of all knowing, all pervading. So we can understand things much better at the spiritual level, which at peace we can understand things, we can look into them, because our attention is like an omni scanner. And this omni scanner has got the ability to pick up all that information which is good for humanity. Otherwise, the mind only gives you an information and makes you biased. If you are not educated that you are divine, and then you get into that trap of the mind. And if you are enlightened person, you know you are a soul, and you can pick up all that information. You can choose what to do, on what to act. So this is how I would like to conclude, because time is short and others have to speak. And I would love to see Professor P.B. talking on the subject. And thank you very much and it's a wonderful opportunity. This organization on social sciences, Ambedkar University is doing a wonderful job, because you are just doing that work, which is which is conveying through your name. This is social sciences, so we are working on it, and thank you very much for that. Thanks a lot, Goswamiji, and thanks, Madam. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chand. You are really a combination of science and spirituality. And it was so pleasure that I never wanted to raise up my finger or hand, even could have talked for next 10 minutes. Thank you very much. Now, nicely he explained the Rigveda Shloka, and he talked about the sea surface temperatures, which this is a fact. And he not only talked about the sea surface temperatures, I must tell you, being a meteorologist or worked in the weather science for a very long duration in Indian Air Force as well as in the NASA, I must tell you there are certain areas when the cyclonic storm takes place, which are known as hurricanes in the Atlantic side, and the Japanese side they are known as typhoons, and in our Asian continent they are known as tropical cyclones. They are the areas where the high sea surface temperatures are there, apart from the orographic region. So if we can control the sea surface temperatures, then in other words, the cyclonic storm can be controlled, and vis-a-vis all the devastation due to cyclonic storm can be controlled. Dr. Bhardwaj, just in a few words, explained the whole science of cyclonic storm based on the spiritual epics of Rigveda. Am I correct, Dr. Chand, if I'm not wrong?
Right, sir. You said it. This is how it should be. That's great, and our knowledge will spread. And I'm very sure that developing this international curriculum through UNESCO will go to the whole world, and we will have chapters on environment and on everything. How a human being should be. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And though I have already conveyed my salute as well as welcome on behalf of Professor Shukla to our chief guest, Professor P.V. Sharma, who joined exactly as per his promise at 7:15, and I put on the chat column to welcome on behalf of Bruce Brass and EPF. Now, if Professor Shukla permits me, or if Professor Sharma is nearby, and if he wants to speak, it is his prerogative. Whenever he wants to speak, he is our honored chief guest. And I must tell you, I intentionally delayed his speaking because he has come a very tiring day today after attending his own university conference and webinars, and that too his chancellor, to whom I know very well, Professor Dr. Chauhan, because I was the first founder director of Ambedkar School of Computer Sciences. So I know how much busy he could have been today. Well, Professor Sharma, if you are there, you are most welcome to speak. And if you want to speak a little later, then I will again welcome to that gentleman whose name was suggested by you and who is really gem of that is Professor Devra. Professor Devra is already, Professor Shukla has explained about him, and it will be, Professor Sharma, I can see you, and my namaskar to you again, and it is your choice. You are more
I thought this is the right opportune time, after listening to Dr. S.K. Tyagi ji and my friend Dr. Chand Bharadwaj, and realizing the importance of a webinar like this being organized by the university of which Madam Shukla is the Honorable Vice Chancellor. I thought that this is the right time for us now to do a little bit of audit of what has happened in the past and what can be done, especially on the strength of the innovative minds of people that we have in plenty in a nation like ours, as well as around the world. Professor Goswamiji, you are my very dear friend, and you have taken the right cause to send a wake-up call to all of us through Dr. Tyagi ji, who has rightly pointed out that if we do not change our course, if we do not amend the way we are working today, then the days ahead are certainly not as bright as the womankind would like to have. Having said this, let me also say that in the post-World War work, the focus has been on the growth of what you call GDP, that you have higher and higher GDP, Do not worry about anybody else and become an economic power and a superpower. This is how exactly the growth and development of nations around the world has been targeted. When you focus on gross domestic product as indeed a criteria for the development of a nation, you fall into the trap. And the trap is that you achieve economic prosperity for a few at the cost of tears for the millions and millions of your people. This is what exactly happened around the world. We are meeting at a point today when we have achieved great gains economically in nations which certainly have put their best foot forward, but at the cost which is unbearable today. Especially in India, like a country like India, we are going to celebrate our 74th Independence Day tomorrow. We find that air quality is highly questionable. The, the world quality parameters require AQI to be less than 20, while we are breathing air often which is already higher than AQI of 100 and more, and sometimes going to as high as 1,000 or even more. This is if this is happening in the capital city of Delhi and in the NCR, you can imagine the kind of air quality we have elsewhere. Same is about the water quality. We know for certain that we were a country of rivers, which were the rivers of nectar. In my childhood, I could go to a river and drink that water of the river as Amrit, and in fact realize the value and worth of God Almighty's grace on my body and soul. But today you are scared to wash even your hands, let alone drink that water. We have played havoc with the water quality in our country, and we do not realize that without water and air, neither you nor me would be able to survive happy and healthy here in this country or for that region around the world. I remember when I went to Birmingham for my higher studies in the early 70s, the Thames River was very dirty. And so was the case with very many rivers around the world at that time. Because of massive industrialization, the water quality of the river was badly damaged. But look at it today. Today, River Zurich, River Thames in London, as well as River Chicago, they are as clean as you would imagine. And therefore, scientific interventions of the innovative minds, in my opinion, is the first plan of action which we all must think, whether it is coming to air quality or it is coming to water quality. We have to look at what science and technology, which has spoiled the quality of air and water, can do to now bring it back to the kind of quality which we all require. And I'm sure the science and technology have great capabilities provided the ingenuity of man is properly utilized for the purpose. We have, for example, National Clean Air Act in India. We also have a National Clean Air Plan in India. But we are not ambitious. We are saying there that it should be cut down by 20% by 2024. Why should I wait for 2024 only to cut down the air pollution by 20%? I should say that I would like to cut it down to 20% of what it is today by 2024. It is that kind of ambitious plan you have to keep ahead of you, and then ask yourself what should you do in transportation, what should you do on energy and power front, and what should you do on the industrial front to ensure that you are able to achieve that kind of reduction of 80% in the air pollution which you have today. Such like ambitious targets are required. I mean, how could I be achieving, in fact, water quality of the kind which I require without realizing that the agriculture sector, which is of course very important for a nation like me, consumes 75 to 80% of the rainwater which I receive, the fresh water which I have on planet in my country, and therefore the area where water economy has to be really working well is also an agriculture sector where major gains will come. Why should I allow my industry and my civic bodies to discharge untreated effluent in my rivers? 70% of untreated sewage is going into the rivers of India. How long I can afford this luxury? I have to find the ways and means, even innovative solutions to treat that what I call the polluted water before it finally goes to the river. And it can be done and should be done. After all, we are a nation where we have regarded water as the purest of the pure substance which God Almighty has given to us, nothing less than what we call Amrit. a country where water is regarded as Amrit by our forefathers. Chand Bharadwaj were talking of spirituality and science. Surely there is a need to have integration of science and spirituality, but rest assured, spirituality is not merely for preaching or education. Spirituality is to be practiced in action. And this action needs to begin right now by creating that intense desire and urge in the minds of our people. If we are not able to change the way we live and the way our lifestyle is conditioned, I tell you the days ahead are very frightening. Dr. Tyagiji has already raised an alarm in terms of the climate change, in terms of the global warming, in terms of the rise of the sea level, and also in terms of the air quality degradation of the kind that is on the card. Let me submit to you that the innovative solutions lie in every single sector which is responsible for spoiling the health of the environment. I can do wonders in transportation sector. After all, when I was the principal of Delhi College of Engineering way back in 2005, the first hybrid of India was made, which received the first prize in the green car competition even in America. But the automotive industry said, you are ahead of time. Nobody required hybrid at that time. Even today, they are talking about it. This is how we waste time and create havoc for the humanity. If we could have gone for hybrid 10 years or 15 years earlier, India would have been the leader in the world in the farm, in the area of clean transportation. You could do this today also. Nothing prevents you from saying that from 2021, I want to induct straight away millions of electric vehicles on road, electric scooters also on the road. But you need to take a resolve like this and prepare a nation like ours to march on the pathways of clean and green future for the mankind. This is something we can do. We can also do it. Same thing actually to assure the bright future for the humanity. India has capability to lead the world, but it should not be merely in talks, it should be in action. Universities have a great role to play in this respect. The policy making bodies have a role to play. The government must have a resolve, they must have a determination, and law enforcing authorities, on the other hand, must come with firm resolve and determination. I feel upset really at this level, at my age, having spent whole of my life in education, that people enjoy overtaking from the left and we are killing each other. Highest number of accident deaths in the world are happening here in India. How long I can have the luxury of losing an Indian every 3 or 4 minutes on road death? You tell me. How can I afford the luxury of having the best of the cars on the roads of India without educating my people how to drive them, without enforcing my traffic laws? All these are contributing to degradation of the health of the environment. Let me finish by saying that apart from the scientific solutions and policy intervention, the need and the dire need today is to create a caring and compassionate humanity. This is also a tall order. Mere science and technology would not be able to do anything. You need to talk about how do you care, how do you create a humanity in India and for that region around the world which cares for each other, which cares for Mother Nature, which cares for environment. And this had to be with compassion, because the earth does not belong only to you and me as humans, it belongs to all creatures who are part and parcel of this creation. And therefore, the kind and compassionate humanity is something, a caring humanity, that is the dire need. And that is where the science and spirituality must meet to provide tangible solutions to creating a caring and compassionate humanity empowered with the science and technology for creating the bright green future for the mankind. With these words, ladies and gentlemen, may I express my profound happiness in being with you this evening on the invitation of Professor Goswami, a very dear friend of mine and a former Vice Chancellor. And I'm so happy that the webinar is being organized by University in Madhya Pradesh. I belong to Madhya Pradesh myself, and I feel very happy connecting to you. And I'm so happy that my dear friends are sharing their thoughts and giving you a tremendous amount of information. Not Chand Bharadwaj, take me seriously. The data presented by Dr. Tyagi is not just an information. It will invigorate the mind of people and compel them to think and compel them to change their ways and means and compel the scientists of this nation to devise innovative solutions. Therefore, I think we have to take the call very seriously and respond to it with utmost sincerity and commitment to create this bright future for us and for the coming generation. Thank you so much once again, ladies and gentlemen, for the opportunity given to me. I wish you, as well as the entire humanity, that the scientists and technologists of the world must be committed to create this future. And webinar like this must be a valid means to create that intense urge in the minds of the people. Thank you so much, Dr. Shuklaji, for giving me this opportunity to be with you at this wonderful day. So kind and very happy Independence Day tomorrow. Let you celebrate the Independence Day and take a pledge that every single Indian would ask himself, what can I do to create this bright and green future for the people of my country and for the humanity at large. Thank you so much once again. Thank you.
Well, Professor P.B. Sharma, I am really proud of you to have you here, and of course that confidence I had in my friend, and that's how I had invited him, that even he is busiest person, he will not say no to me. And this is a great pleasure. Let me also share that I think that all the people from center of the heart, or the heart of the India, are here. Professor Sharma is from MP, and my right from primary education to postgraduate education is also in MP. My mother was there for 15 years in Madhya Pradesh. So it's a great pleasure for the core of heart of our country to be here all together. Well, it is whole country is ours. I am not telling the other states are not good, but it's just a coincidence, so I am mentioning that. Professor Sharma, actually I did very injustice with the audience till now as a chairperson. I didn't ask the people raising the hand even to ask the question, because to be very frank, my dear viewers, I was waiting for the encyclopedia of the knowledge, and now our Professor P.B. Sharma is there as the encyclopedia of the knowledge, and you can ask any question if you do have. And some other erudite speakers are still there. They are nice to be with us, and you can also ask questions, but not beyond 5 minutes, because we are running short of time.
Well, excuse me, I would like to say, I'm Chand Bharadwaj here, would like to say something about Professor P.B. Sharma. I remember that he been from the aviation, he was working for Rolls-Royce, and we had a project, to convert these MiG aircraft engines into a generator, and the exhaust will be used for air conditioning, for cooling, like cold storages, cold chain for the farmers, because 40% of the food gets wasted, And then the carbon emission, because we produce electricity from coal, instead of that, if it is done with gas, would have been something wonderful. But, all these years have passed, and I still remember that I had requested him to work on such a project. So I'd like to have some of the reactions on this. Thank you very much.
Well, the innovative minds of people, including those who are in the universities and institutions of higher learning, must work together and ask themselves that this humankind, the entire creation, is resting on two very important elements. One of them is called carbon, and the second one is called hydrogen. I and you, as well as the entire creation, is about these two vital elements. We are talking so much against carbon dioxide today without realizing that because of carbon dioxide, all this greenery is all around. If there is no carbon dioxide, what would you like to fix up? How would you create really these green trees and green future for the mankind? So the question is, how can I turn around and convert carbon dioxide into something so useful that the coming generations would thank me? When I was Vice Chancellor of Rajiv Gandhi Technological University, I said to my scientists, can you create hydrogen out of carbon dioxide? They said, you are asking for a moon. There is no hydrogen in carbon dioxide. How can I create hydrogen out of carbon dioxide? The whole world was talking of carbon capture at that time, carbon dioxide sequestration. But I said, that's not enough. Important thing is, can you convert carbon dioxide into something more useful, which can be everlasting fuel for the mankind? And we designed and developed a prototype, in fact, a pilot plant, where we could demonstrate that carbon dioxide can be converted into useful fuel like hydrogen. It can be converted into useful fuel like biodiesel, and it can also be converted into methanol. And by demonstrating this plant at Rajiv Gandhi Technological University, we raised the hopes of the world. Now, if you can do this here, you can do it at a power plant. all the carbon dioxide that goes to atmosphere, you can convert this into something very useful. So really speaking, on one hand, while there is a need to be against the carbon, what you call the coal-powered power plant, people like me feel that there was a great opportunity which India must utilize on the strength of science. Same applies to solar energy. India is leading the world in terms of deployment of solar energy. But nobody is asking what is the efficiency of solar energy. Not more than 16% of the total light which comes, the energy which comes from the sun is captured by a solar cell. Why not you make it 98%, my friend? What science is required to increase the efficiency of solar cell from 18% to 98%? Ask this question and responded by developing new materials, by developing new sciences and new technologies. You would be able to solve the problem of the whole world. Ask yourself, what can I do to low-speed wind turbines which can turn at a wind speed of less than 1 meter per second? Current turbines are designed for 3 meters per second and higher. If you can do that, then on every rooftop there would be a small fan generating enough electricity at least to charge your inverter. So all these solutions we need to really now consider. You need to ask yourself, how can I design a battery better than what people have designed in the world, and India can do it. So there are hundreds of innovative solutions which are there. Let the younger generation think about it. Do not want to really see the end of my day by simply counting the numbers and saying that we are in bad time. I want to be in good times. I want to leave my new generation that science and technology has solved the mega challenge of climate change and air and water pollution. We need to work for it. This is why I thought, let me also say this with all humility, that we all Indians owe to the world, because we belong to a great heritage which we call the Vedic civilization, the spiritual civilization, जहाँ स्पष्ट शब्दों में कहा था केवल उतना खाइए जितना जरूरी है, उतना रखिए जितना आवश्यक है. लेकिन हमने तो अमेरिकन मॉडल को फॉलो कर लिया, वेयर कंज्यूमरिज्म, increasing size of consumerism is a reflection of the prosperity of a nation. That's not correct. A nation will be judged tomorrow by the amount of by the reduction in the waste it really achieves, and not by the consumption it increases. That time is coming, and I think we have to redefine the very meaning and purpose of development for tomorrow's knowledge society. We have also to define the way of life for a knowledge society. The way of life for a knowledge society is not on consumerism. It's on what we call aparigraha, long time back in our Vedic civilization, which means consume as little as required, no more than that. Look at the birds, look at the cow, look at all the animals. They only eat what is required. They don't want to spoil anybody else's food. But when it comes to us, we want to go to a restaurant and waste as much as possible. How long human beings who call themselves more civilized than the animals and birds would continue to do it is a question. So we have to redefine the way of life for the knowledge society and let the younger generation understand its imperative. These are not tall orders, these are achievable goals. And I think we all have to work together and discuss these more seriously. Today is not the time, tomorrow is Independence Day, let us celebrate it, but also at the same time commit ourselves to cause those actions within our universities, within our own circle, so that we are part and parcel of a society which is caring and compassionate, not only to humans, but to the entire creation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Sharma, and I think he has answered so many questions in just in a comprehensive manner. I must tell you about Professor Sharma, you may not be knowing. He is the pioneer in the turbine research and aerospace engines as well. And well, he is so many things, but this is what I really love. And very few people is the pioneer research in that your turbines area, and he's an authority, as I said you in the beginning. Professor Sharma, thank you very much. It's very kind of you to be here with us. And now I request the, you see there's something known as in the physics induction effect. And with that induction effect, I am sure Professor Deora has got the induction effect from Professor P.B. Sharma. He is also from the same university, working together as a colleague. And now I request Professor P.C.S. Devra to give his practical innovative talk, which I have gone through a little bit. Thank you very much, Professor Devra. You are welcome.
Thank you, sir. Very good evening to all, and I'm very grateful to the organizers particularly Professor Goswami and Professor.
Sir, I request that let's confine to our 15-20 minutes. Even our chief guest was so kind; he didn't exceed 15
That due
minutes.
to
He
shortage
didn't exceed Chand Bhardwaj also and some other people. I am really sorry to say this thing, but unfortunately, I have to do this unpleasant duty. Thank you very much. Well, you can take up.
Devra is a great scientist, and I have very high regards for him. In fact, he devoted my head, heart, and soul to the cause of air quality research and excellent facilities we have set up here in our university. You should not be surprised if I say that the air quality in my campus is at least 3 times better than what it is in the city of Delhi and at least 2 times better than what it is in the Millennium City of Gurgaon. This is the kind of air quality we are maintaining, a dust-free environment also, noise-free environment also, and that Devra has a lot to contribute to this. I feel very proud of Professor Devra.
Professor Deva, you are welcome, and I think there is no limit for you. You can enlighten us.
और मेरी तो वाटर क्वालिटी भी बहुत अच्छी है. I am not wasting even a single drop of water. The entire water which we consume is retreated and reused within the campus, and that way we are paving the way for highest level of compliance to water security. Not a single drop of water is wasted, and all the water is treated, in fact, and reused and recycled.
Sir, he comes from very pioneer institute, Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. I had been there in Pune. It's one of the wonderful research these people are doing so far, weather forecasting prediction and numerical weather prediction is concerned.
बस चले तो मैं तो legislation बना दूं that all IITs and all central universities and all universities having campuses more than 10 acres, they should all be water compliant and they should be water secured and energy secured. It can be done. In fact, you do not need to import even a single unit of electricity nor a single drop of water if you really pay attention. And this will be the lesson learned. This is the way the new generation will imbibe the importance of water and air quality and take it forward.
I fully agree with this chemistry, sir, and that will be matching.
डॉक्टर देवरा फटाफट शुरू करो. मैं तो आपकी जगह बोल रहा हूँ सिर्फ इसलिए जिससे लोग भाग न जाएं.
Actually, our friend Mr. Pawan Kumar is missing, and I have sent 2-3 WhatsApp messages. Perhaps he is quite busy being an entrepreneur himself. He's a man from TCS, and then MOOCs also he did it. But I am afraid that perhaps he's got so busy that he's not able to join us. So let's request Professor Devra. Because if Professor Devra doesn't accept my request, I have to be in that, because after that my turn comes. So I am thinking, let him speak so that I have to speak very less.
Professor Devra, are you listening to us? Or you have gone mute or whatever?
Maybe some problems with him on internet problems possibly.
लग रहा है कि बैटरी खत्म हो गई देवरा साहब की.
5:30. He was here at 5:30. We uploaded the people.
मैं इसलिए मैं हमेशा कवर करके चलता हूँ. My mobile is fully charged. That if my laptop goes down, I can immediately switch over to my. Because in the days of technology, you have to be taking care. Maybe battery problem.
That's correct.
But in the meantime, let me say that Dr. Devra was earlier with Indian Institute of Tropical Management at Pune, and from where he retired, and we took him at our university to establish some of the finest facilities for tracking the particulate matter and their impact on the climate change. In fact, you can understand from where the particulate matters are coming. You should not be surprised that the weather is not a localized problem, it's a global problem, and that is why climate change is a global issue, not just a local issue. What happens in one country impacts another country. And much of the particulate matter is coming from the Arabian Sea, from the countries where you have the hydrocarbon economy working so well. You yourself have shown the figures that per capita CO2 emission is much higher in Qatar and United Arab Emirates, from where the particulate matter come and fall on the head of Gurgaon, and they go further to India. And we have to be, Professor Devara and his team was able to model this, track it, and also have the NASA Aeronet facility at the campus to understand in great detail and be part of the global mission of tracking the particulate matter and be part of the climate change mission. And his team is doing a great job. I would have been very happy that if he could share some of his slides or whatever presentation he has prepared. Dr. Tyagi, of course, knows very well. Dr. Tyagi has visited our campus several times and have seen the great work being done by Professor Devara and his team.
Sir, few points here for you that as I was talking about the aero engines, which were to run with natural gas at 16 pressure, could it do something better than the coal-fired plants?
You could do wonders. In fact, we need to understand that with today's technology would allow you even to run an aeroplane without an engine. I mean, that time has come. So one has to really be looking at now the future and futuristic science. Dr. Devara is back now.
Yes,
I can
yes.
see the battery charge again. Professor Devara, warm welcome. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Actually, I in this talk, I wanted to emphasize on some of the research gaps and actually how actually we can effectively develop the mitigation techniques. I wanted to emphasize on what the current status of pollution and how we can develop the techniques for. In fact, at the beginning, I wanted to raise some of the research gaps so that we can understand better. We can effectively develop the mitigation techniques. In fact, Professor P.V. Sharma, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, and our earlier speakers have already talked about the current status and then literature on this air pollution and all. That I don't want to repeat. But I wanted to say here that what are the reason, what are the gap areas? In fact, we have been decades together. We have been monitoring various primary and then secondary pollutants, but we do not know now what is their vertical distributions. We are all measuring for the decades together horizontal distributions at the surface level. In fact, this recent COVID studies have taught us very good lesson. In fact, during the lockdown periods, we all have observed very less pollution levels. But at the same time, if you see the higher altitudes, the pollution is more. Why? Why? Because by looking at the ground level pollution levels, we should not think that pollution is reduced, but it is not the case. Because at higher altitudes, there are other sources available, like trajectories, long-range transport of the pollution. So that contributes a lot. Thereby, the pollution levels at higher altitudes are entirely different compared to the lower altitude, near surface. So this is one thing I wanted to make it very much clear. So our understanding about the pollution is not sufficient now. So we should have the better knowledge about the higher level pollutions also. So because when you talk about the climate, it is not the only surface level pollution comes into the play. It is a combination of higher level pollution as well as surface level pollution. That is one point I wanted to emphasize in this talk. And the another thing is, we all know about the particulate matter, PM 2.5, PM 10 particularly, because we know about these two particulate matter very well because we know their standards. Say for example, PM 10, 52 PM 10, about 100 microgram per meter cube. That is the standard permissible level. So we treat, whenever it exceeds that level, we say that it is polluted area. Similarly, for PM 2.5, we know about 50 to 60 microgram per meter cube. But PM1 also we measure as a part of the family of this particular matter, but we do not know its permissible level, its standard. That is another area where you have to concentrate if you want to really know about the impact of the pollution. So our complete understanding is not complete. So we have to find out the permissible limits for PM1. This is another thing I wanted to emphasize to this August audience. So about the pollution. So that is also very important to control and to find out the effective way. Can I have my presentation? Yeah. Very good, very good. Thank you very much. So these are the laboratory facilities what we have developed at our MT University Haryana, and then we have the national sites. One of the national site MAPN system we are operating that monitors about 32 pollution elements simultaneously for every 15 minutes. This is very valuable data with which we can understand many processes involved in the pollution levels. And also you can see the NASA Aeronet. So here this is another collaborative program with NASA Aeronet. So this gives them about the vertical distributions, vertical columnar content, all these pollutants, like all pollution, particulate matter, and also the gases, and then benzene, volatile organic compounds, and then CO2, and then SO2, NO2, all these pollutants along with meteorological parameters. Meteorology here is very important because the variations what we observe in all these pollution parameters is mainly due to meteorology and also due to solar radiation. Because of that, a lot of turbulence is created. Turbulence is the main parameter which creates the variations in all these pollution parameters. So these are all the pollution cutting edge technology measurements we have been making at our institute. May I have the next slide, please? Next slide. Can I have the next slide? So we have been monitoring all these parameters, and we have utilized this data for many studies. Say, for example, what all studies and then mentioned by the previous speakers. Actually, we have measured all this. We have studied all this process at our university, and we have found out this is not the completely study required, and also we have to make some of the more studies like the standards and also about the vertical distributions. I wanted to give here more and more emphasis on the vertical distributions. We have to find out the way. In fact, we have been using the LiDARs, and we have been using the cloud ceilometers. So thereby we can study the vertical distributions of pollutants, and then we know the natural eliminating processes like precipitation is one of the things. We feel that whenever precipitation or rainfall occurs, it cleans the atmosphere. So a lot of pollutants will be washed out. But at the same time, precipitation also increases the plastic pollution. Plastic pollution nowadays, recent studies says that. And also clouds, we are not studying simultaneously the clouds. Clouds also act as the scavenging of these pollutants. So many pollutants will be taken by the clouds, and then thereby we encounter the acid rain, when it precipitates, acid rain and all those things. That is another area actually I wanted to emphasize here. Clouds also, aerosol. Aerosol is nothing but actually earlier commission on radiation. We used to call it as aerosols. Now, those days aerosols are nothing but now particulate matter, PM 2.5, PM 10 and all those things. But one more thing I wanted to emphasize here. My slides are not moving. Can I have Dr. Pathak? I think he has loaded my presentation here. So if I can change my slides, I can tell some more things about my the talk. Of course, if that is not the case, then I can still talk extempo about now.
There is a problem of electricity in my residence, so I am running it with mobile data. So that is why the PPT is not working properly.
Okay,
I am sorry, sir.
No problem. No problem. On faster, and then I would have shown much better way. But of course, I can talk also. So another area where I wanted to emphasize is that health impact. See, we all know that very well. This is another CPCB stations network we have. But all the CPCB stations, we concentrate only on the near surface air pollutants. But of course, there is a lot of difference. As I told you earlier, the vertical distributions are very well required. Unless we know the vertical distributions of all these pollutants, our understanding about the pollution impact, particularly on health, particularly on our Earth atmosphere radiation balance and the Earth's radiation budget are incomplete. So vertical distributions I wanted to emphasize very well. And then can I have the next slide, please? Like this. Next slide. And I wanted to emphasize here the pollution impact on human health. So in that connection, actually I wanted to reiterate one important point. We have been talking all the time about PM 2.5. PM 2.5 actually is a biomarker. So by monitoring the levels of PM 2.5, we can study the human health. So how actually our pollution levels are. But now with the advent of advantages and then in our technology, PM 2.5 is no longer biomarker. We are now emphasizing on very fine particulate matter, even nanoparticle size material or even lower than that. So lesser the size, more the impact on human health. So we have to change our mindsets. We have to change our orientation to find out the impact of pollution, even to study the pollution, to understand better and better. So we have to go for fine particulate matter pollution, particles, so even nanoparticles, so that we can study the fungi, bacteria, pathogens, so very well, so that we can understand the impact of pollution on human health. This is one of the important things we have to, and then some previous speaker talked about the Kalari, that the stubble burning, what we call stubble burning. Actually, we have studied a lot, but about stubble burning, of course, there are ways to understand.
Sir, you are not audible, sir.
Mr. Devra, you are not audible. So please unmute your mic and then continue.
Audible?
Yes, now audible.
Sorry, very sorry for this frequent interruption. I think for connectivity problem. I don't know where from our side or I don't know. But you see, there are so many advantages. We can make use of this crop residue instead of burning them. For example, mushroom cultivation we can do, and then mud bricks, and then biogas preparation. So many things we can make use of instead of burning the. So there are many ways how we can make use of all these things, and then we have been developing the technology, of course, how to control actually. These are some of the high pollution levels of hazardous to vegetation, drinking water. There are ways we have been developing for the mitigation processes. How we can where we can develop the mitigation process to reduce the pollution in water quality and then air quality reductions. And then what I wanted to emphasize here is the modeling activity is very, very poor in our country. So we have to develop models. So this is one of the things which is very much required for simulation of this pollution parameters or forecast the pollution. So this is very, very important to develop the mitigation techniques. Unless we know the levels presently and future, you cannot prepare, you cannot develop the mitigation techniques to the satisfaction level. So this modeling technique is also important, very, very important. We have been doing this modeling of pollution, forecasting pollution in collaboration with organizations like Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, IMD, and then NCAR and NCMRWF. So with these collaborations, we have been doing the pollution. Of course, we are able to find out the pollution up to about 400 meters, but we are developing further this pollution forecast, and thereby we can develop the mitigation techniques better than the present time. And then there are gap areas. Of course, I do not know now whether earlier I have talked. Of course, you people have heard or not. So one, and of course there is no problem. I can shortly I can reiterate whatever I told. One important and foremost thing what I wanted to emphasize in this important webinar is to have the vertical distributions, height variation of the pollutants is very well missing. We have to put lot of efforts to get that information. Thereby we can emphasize, we can study, we can develop very efficient mitigation techniques. And also I wanted to emphasize here the we have to scientific community should be able to clear effectively the policy makers, because the connection between scientists and policy makers will ultimately give the information to the government to take any policy. So we have to develop how we effectively, whatever observations we are making from the pollution studies, we should be able to clearly explain to the policy makers. Thereby government also should get clear idea about the pollution, present day pollution. Actually I have put here those emphasis in one of my slides, so that this is one of the areas actually. These are the things actually gap areas. See, first one you can see standards for PM1. As quickly as possible, we have to work on this. So in fact, we are trying to develop some PM1 standards in collaboration with Australian scientists, even our MT University Haryana. In fact, we have been developing some of the, because we have already studied the PM1, actually the PM1 characteristics, emission inventory of PM1 we have been developing. Thereby we can very quickly we can develop the standards for PM1. PM 2.5 standards are available, PM 10 standards are available, but not for PM1. We have to develop that. And vertical distributions, height variation of this primary and secondary aerosols, that complete band of all the pollutants, including the gases, toxic gas pollutants and particulate matter. Vertical distributions are very much missing. We have to emphasize, we have to develop the techniques to get the information on vertical distribution. And third one is model developments for pollution diagnosis. Yes, I require another 1 or 2 minutes. I will complete. And then in intra-particulate and gaseous pollutants, we have been studying gases separately and particulate matter separately, but there are a lot of interactions between these two. We have to understand them. Interaction between transport corridors. We have done many transport sector, industrial sectors, pollution studies, but intersection at transport corridors is very important. Less studies have been done. We have to advance. And then more focus on natural remedies like clouds. It consumes, it takes away lot of pollutants from the atmosphere to the clouds. We have to study very clearly and more about this clouds, how actually scavenging of pollution taking place. And also the precipitation, rainfall is another scavenging mechanism which is naturally available in the atmosphere. We have to make use of this scavenging mechanisms in addition to finding out the mitigation. In fact, to understand all these things, we have developed a course called MTech course. We have developed it for MD University Haryana. We emphasize on atmosphere technology, atmosphere technology and climate management. That we welcome all the students. I hope that some students are also attending this. And in fact, in one of the student, recent MTech student published 2 papers, very recent, 2001. In fact, we have been, lot of students are taking a lot of interest, and then the facilities, these are the publications, and 50% of these publications, students have made, our recent MTech students, and in a very prestigious journal, Urban Climate, it has highly impactful journal, and the students have published, our students. In fact, we all have been utilizing our very sophisticated instrumentation facilities for monitoring this pollution as well as its connections with human health and all at our MT University Haryana. And then we are training students. I request once again this August audience, and then and also the students. I believe that students are also attending this to have this facilities, make use of these facilities, and then develop their knowledge. And then some of the gap areas, of course, I acknowledge all this. Our founder persons are and our chancellor, and then sir, and then provision, our chancellors and vice chancellors, pro-vice chancellor, and then all the organizers, particularly all the organizers. I wanted to thank them very much for giving me this opportunity. Of course, in spite of all this interim, the connectivity problems and this thing, of course, I hope that I have conveyed my main thing, gap areas I wanted to give. Instead of course, I have heard many, I also heard here also, the present status and the literature available, enormous literature. But what we have to know now, what else you have to make, what you have to study to understand, and then make this pollution problem more and more clear and find out the mitigation problems. Thank you so much. That is all my desire to share at this webinar. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Professor Devara, and it's very nice of you, and the talk was very innovative ideas you have given. And it's last but not least, I again beg pardon from the viewers that I won't be able to give you any opportunity to ask more questions from the speakers, because we are already running short. And the evidence of this is there were 150 people who are attending this webinar in the beginning, and the number is reducing, and it has almost come to 112 now. So I don't want that 112 should not be present when I have to also request them to be here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now I will be trying to synthesize the complete lectures. Though the erudite speakers have reduced my job, that I won't be talking much, most of the things they have covered, but as a chairperson, it's my duty and responsibility to synthesize. So I have made my PowerPoint in this fashion that it covers the complete spectra of your control of this particular topic of today. That is, so I have stressed on the innovative scientific technologies to clean the environment and also to restrict the climate change. At the same time, also, if these things to be, how can we do? If we can do it, then obviously we can attain the peace. Now, right in the beginning of my presentation, which I am showing you, I am answering these 3 questions. What is the innovation? How this innovation can be done? And this you all are able to understand. And now I put my presentation. I'll be skipping some of the slides very fast so that I don't take your time. I will be also committed to be with you from next 15 or at the most 20 minutes. It cannot be 21, it should be 90 minutes, some seconds or so. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am once again request my lovely audience to give me an opportunity to be with you, and as well the erudite speakers as well. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity of having chaired this session with so erudite speakers. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here is the thing, your thing, and I am thankful to Professor Shukla, though I have just picked up a few drops of knowledge from the ocean of knowledge, and this is my topic objective, which I am going to cover. That is today's theme: innovative scientific technologies to sustain clean environment, healthy climate, and then how to attain the peace. Quickly, this is the one shloka of Rig Veda which tells you how to do the innovation, how to control or keep the things moving. Only the
Please
person
share
of
your slide.
and iron variation can attain strength and energy. At no stage of karma does he ever hesitates. Are you able to see the slides and listen to me as well?
No, sir. Please share your slides.
Sir,
Slides,
you are audible, but slides are not visible.
slides are not visible.
Yes,
Okay,
sir, your voice
okay,
is audible.
okay. I got the point. It is not visible due to my fault because I have not shared. Yes, I had made unshared that time, and now I will share. Okay, is it okay now?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir, it's okay.
So you can see the handsome face of mine now. Huh? Okay, fine. So this is the thing. So I was talking about the Rig Veda. You see, our Vedas are the treasure of scientific and technical knowledge. Only is the question, how do you decode these Vedas? So this is the Rig Veda, first shloka of Rig Veda, of the first Ved of out of the four Vedas is the only the person having firm conviction and iron volition can attain strength and energy at no stage of karma does he ever hesitate. What it means, you have to work and work and work. There is no shortcut to learning or no shortcut of innovation. If that is the thing, then what is innovation? In a very nice way, one of the scientists described it. Read every day something no one else is read. Think every day something no one else is thinking. Do every day something no one else would be silly enough to do. It is bad for the mind to continually be a part of unanimity. So this is the innovation. Okay, we people have talked that what is the hazards of climate. There are 325 million deaths are taking place every year, and it is expected by 2030 it will be $300 of 40 billion economic losses by 2030. We have got 7.8 billion population, and you can imagine how many millions people are dying to this air pollution. Now, there is a correlation of health diseases and environment pollution. Now, due to air pollution has significant health impact apart from the other pollutants like tobacco, smoke, pesticides, and heavy metal contamination. I am trying to cover only those slides which I feel directly related to the control of global warming and your environmental pollution. The air pollutants, people have already talked, so I'm not going to give precise. The concentration of dissolved drugs increased manifold along the river course. This is the survey done by Delhi Yamuna River, and there are 120 times of increase in diclofenac painkillers in the water, and 96 times increase of the ofloxacin, that is antibiotics. This R&D Institute of Medical Sciences, they found out that there is a groundwater contamination and Yamuna water is contaminated due to the chromium and by the other pollutants. I will come on the marine pollution now, which was not very much covered. There are generally two types of pollutants. One are toxic entities and the contaminants from water, and the other CO2 absorption by the sea. It has covered in a nice way, and no doubt carbon dioxide is needed, and plantation is very good for the remediation of this your control of global warming. I will talk later on that. Over 25 million tons of carbon dioxide dissolved in seawater every day. Carbonic acids, and these are four main pollutants which pollute the water. One are chemical pollutants, physical pollutants, biological pollutants, radiation pollutants, particulate matter. People have already talked, pesticides, contaminants, and microorganisms, pathogens, and bacteria. These are the water pollutants, and now water pollution due to microplastics. Microplastics are toxic chemicals linked to illness when consumed by fish and mammals. Microscopic fibers might originate in the everyday abrasion of clothes, upholstery, and carpets. They could reach into water taps, tanks. So, the other water contaminants are microbial pathogens, viruses, bacteria, herbicides, and pesticides. So, after having known you have to know what are the toxic elements, what are the elements which are toxifying the water. Then only you can find the remediation. And then you know what are the causes, how will you find the solution? So the remediation now I'm talking how to clean the water and how to get rid of plastic pollution. First and foremost thing, you should develop the method to entrap the toxins. And there are four methods have been developed. There are two types of toxins, inorganic toxins and organic compound toxins, that is lead, mercury, hydrofluoric acid, and chlorine, and methyl alcohol, etc. So these can be by catalytic oxidants, you can use this, and similarly, your marine pollution can be controlled by acidifying and controlling the pH value. It is scientific, and the people who are the science students, they will appreciate how it is to be done and why it is to be done. Air pollution has been talked in quite detail, so I'm not to touch. And of course, as you know, 18% death are due to chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, 18% lung infection, and 6% of lung cancer. This is the statistics due to the air pollution, which is caused. And also, I must tell you, the 60% heart attacks, 4.2 million premature deaths worldwide each year. This is all due to air pollution. If such a thing is there, then we must try that the air does not get polluted. Ultra-fine dust particle is the size of virus and can penetrate the lung barrier to enter the blood system, leading to local inflammation in blood vessels, leading to this type of diseases, even to the lung cancers. The atmospheric pollutants, as we have already talked, they are heating and cooling type of things, and they are greenhouse effect, which causes increase of heat in a system where energy enters as a light energy, absorbed the heat, and released sometimes later. These are how the mechanism of the global warming takes place. So monitoring air pollution by satellites, this has in 2018, the aerosol optical depth, AOD, capturing how much sunlight is blocked by aerosol particles from reaching the Earth's surface by measuring of the total amount of pollutant from the group. These can be now measured by satellites, and NASA and ISRO have come in contact, and they have made a contract to develop NASA MODIS data set in the most reliable source of your AOD capturing. So this simultaneously I am giving you what is the air pollution and how it can be monitored, and then at the same time, if you have monitored, how to get rid of that. So you'll find in one slide mixing up what is that, how it is, and why it is. This is what a scientific approach to any topic we have been taught. Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the annual greenhouse gas emission by the different sectors. Industrial sector 16.8, power station 21.3, and 14% transportation fuel. And what are those greenhouse gases? Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrous oxide, and the main thing in which you are sitting at the present, and I am also sitting, and we take the cold water, that is your refrigeration and air conditioning, which is using the chlorofluorocarbons, which are very dangerous, and this is increasing the global warming also. Now, the increased concentration of carbon dioxide is due to burning fossil fuels in the cars, nicely, deforestation and burning forest, and things I am not going to in details. And the thing which was not covered was ozone layer depletion. Due to the ozone layer depletion, what is happening? The greenhouse gases, they are absorbed by short-wave radiation and long-wave solar radiation and play a dominant role in the Earth thermal budget. This oxygen absorbs solar radiation in 950 to 100 mm wavelengths and contribute up to 7% of global warming. Ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you, if this ozone layer is not controlled, ozone would increase the global surface temperature by 0.3 degrees centigrade. So you have to be very well concerned about the ozone distribution, which can cause the alteration of solar ultraviolet radiation in the atmosphere, circulation, and weather. This is a quite complicated topic. I won't be going in detail. This requires the mathematical and the meteorological background to understand. Now, this is a slide which gives you stop global warming, which you can do. Every human body can do at home. Replace the light bulb with the fluorescent lights, install thermostat, choose energy efficient appliances, and reuse, reduce, recycle your organic waste, work from home, which is being done due to unfortunate corona, and plant trees, conserve forest, and use green energy. Periodical lockdowns are good, but not due to corona. You have seen the effect due to lockdown, lot of air pollution got reduced, especially the figures came about Delhi. So make responsible to imply and imply. This is the formula I am giving to you, that it is not the person who throws the waste in front of house should be the defaulter. Even in the front of house where it is being thrown, even that fellow should be responsible for the cleanliness of surrounding. Any hotel owner should be also made responsible, not only the person who is throwing the junk on the road. So this is the thing, and the very important thing, harnessing the lunar energy. This is the brainchild, and I have put this thing when I was invited by NASA in 2016. I put one question to the audience, 300 scientists all over the world. That was in Météo France, and I asked them, ladies and gentlemen, it's very nice to plant the trees, and it's the most economical way to control the global warming, but can we wait 10 years to grow the tree? Answer is capital no. So you have to find the innovative chemical processes to control the global warming. And once you are able to control the global warming, you'll be able to control the climate change as well. So this lunar energy, if you can harness, then it's a brainchild of mind which requires experimentation to be proved. It is like that. If you can harness lunar energy, then the complete cosmos will have effect of that, and the global warming will get reduced. Magnetic radiation technique. This technique we have developed in the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, by making the magnetic reactors, and we found that they are first row of transition metal oxide, that is cobalt oxide, which have got the high values of magnetic susceptibility. They have got high surface area, high magnetic susceptibility. These type of first row of transition metal oxide, when high magnetic field is applied on that and it is removed, then the cooling takes place. Now, if this magnetic reflection techniques, which first time I talked in the University of Innsbruck in 2009 and the University of France when I was invited there, that we must work on the magnetic fridges and magnetic air condition that will limit your chlorofluorocarbon. And if we can limit this thing, then obviously we can get rid of. You cannot ask the people to stop sitting in the air conditioning. You cannot ask the people to not to use refrigeration. So it is not the way that you stop this. Find out some of the alternatives, how to control the things and how to improve the things. Don't make stoppage of the things. Mitigate adverse effects of climate volatility by chemical processes. Now, mitigation of CO2. This is the method we have given, and pollution control devices by developing catalyst beds, by developing catalyst converter. At the source itself, kill the pollution. At the time exhaust of vehicles, you put the catalytic converters, which cause carbon monoxide can be converted to carbon dioxide. Similarly, your another methane can be converted to ethane, and ethane can be converted to ethanol, and this will replace your fossil fuels. Ladies and gentlemen, to control fossil fuel, to get rid of fossil fuel is not only important due to global warming, also it is important because the source of this fossil fuel is depleting day by day. You see, the other solutions are very nice solution is use the green chemistry and nanotechnology. You see, we polluted air, we polluted water, we polluted land, but God is still kind to us. He has given us solar, He has given us wind, He has given us water, hydro and kinetic energy, and we must use all these three sources, and we can control the global warming at the same time. So we use the green energy technology, the non-conventional energy, which I talked. Quickly, I have got only 4 minutes left with me, and then we will use the solar energy. 130 families in Dalbagh, slum in New Delhi, they are using the micro solar domes. And the very important thing, battery technology. We must develop, because in all solar panels, the solar batteries are being used. And there is no age for innovation on the scientific invention. I give you the example. Now, Dr. Goodenough, at the age of 57, lithium-ion batteries invented, sodium lithium invented at 94, and he got Nobel Prize last year in chemistry for developing this. So there is no age of innovation. You can do anytime and any number of times. So the other are geothermal energies. This uses the inner heat of the earth as an energy source. As of 2013, more than 11,700 megawatts have been created by geothermal energy and geothermal energy sources. Then hydrokinetic energies are there. They are rotating device which on the sea water, they push it up, and with that you can run the turbine. And this the wind is very popular. You have seen the wind energy, wind turbines harvest the air. And then the another energy you see, you will be surprised to know the people who drink, they perhaps do not know that this Scottish whiskey, from there you can form a biobutanol. This is one of the acetone biobutanol fuel which can be used in running your cars as well. So it is the scientist, a man who always find out of nothing something, you see. And since we should not forget peace, we didn't talk about the peace much, and only in this very summarized way how the peace should be established. Once you clean the environment, once you control the global warming, climate change will not be there, no disease will be there. So सर्वे भवन्ति सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्ति, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग्यो भवेत्. This is the fundamental to establish the peace, and world will be in peace when there are 3 types of peace. Mental peace exists. How the mental peace will come? You should discard 3A, that is anxiety, anguish, anger, and you must adopt plus 3A, attention, affection, and appreciation. Watch your words, watch your action, watch your thoughts, watch your character, watch your health, and very important, your material, physical needs are to be fulfilled. रोटी कपड़ा मकान सबके पास होगा, अपने आप शांति रहेगी. Demographic peace exists when no wars takes place, when you always wait, watch, and then only use the power. If this is the basis you can develop, war will not take place. Environmental peace of unpolluted atmosphere and controlled global warming. I have developed a lot of mathematical equation how to establish the peace. In short, I will give the gist. Peace is inversely proportional to entropy. Entropy is a mathematical term, it's a thermodynamic term, but in short, in general, it consists disorderliness. एग्जाम्पल ये है कि आप घर जाते हैं, सब चीजें बिखरी हुई देखते हैं, तो क्या हो जाता है, आप घर की डोमेस्टिक शांति खत्म हो जाती है. तो इफ थिंग्स आर इन ऑर्डर, देयर इज नो डिसऑर्डरनेस इन द नेचर, देयर इज नो imbalance in the nature, then automatically the peace will exist. So now 2 minutes of left, ladies and gentlemen, and the last but not least, the car has been run on water energy in Gujarat by using special mesh curtains. The fog particles, the low clouds are entrapped and water is being produced. The water ATM machines have been designed by your Bharat Electricals, and the zero mass water, that is Zero company, is in United States. They have converted the from the deserts. They have created the water by harnessing the solar energy and then humidity in the atmosphere, and it's a very long technology. And this is the yesterday's news. I, being a member of American Geophysical Union, they have talked that the oceans are mitigating global warming by absorbing a large amount of excess carbon dioxide from human activities. So this is one way. But Professor Sharma also talked, carbon dioxide not that very bad thing. It is also useful, but you should know how to use that. The comment from, it's again yesterday's Global Ocean Data Analysis Project, they have come out with this research that it describes the challenges of the quantifying the interior ocean storage of anthropogenic carbon and the utility of different data. And NASA is designing the satellites which would measure regional and global fields of turbulent air-sea interaction, that is hydrokinetic energy, which I mentioned. With this, ladies and gentlemen, I take leave from you and request you, before going, save Mother Earth from environmental pollution and climate change through your innovative scientific, technological for present and future generation. Stay blessed. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Can I have a question, sir, Virendra Goswami ji?
Sir, you are most welcome, because I have finished in my 17 minutes, so I am not afraid now.
That's good, you know.
डॉक्टर चांद भारद्वाज जी,
जी,
हम लोग लगभग 9 बजने वाला है,
जी,
तो हमने 2 घंटे का तय किया था, अभी 3 घंटे हो रहे हैं।
जी, जी,
तो आपका क्वेश्चन और सर का आंसर यदि छोटा सा हो जाएगा तो अच्छा रहेगा।
बिल्कुल, बहुत ही छोटा सा है जी मेरा क्वेश्चन भी। साहब ने बोला था कि अभी मीथेन को इथेन और इथेनॉल में बदलने की बात की थी, तो मुझे सिर्फ ये बताना है कि जो अभी हम प्रोफेसर पीबी शर्मा के साथ में पहले काम कर रहे थे दिल्ली कॉलेज ऑफ इंजीनियरिंग में, कि मिग एयरक्राफ्ट इंजन को नेचुरल गैस से चला के, जो कि मीथेन होती है, उससे चला के जो उससे एग्जॉस्ट होता है, उस एग्जॉस्ट की जो गैसेस हैं, कैन वी यूज इट for these purposes to convert them from methane to ethane and ethanol?
Dr. Chan, you are very correct. This is a very innovative idea. And as a matter of fact, from the aircraft exhaust, being in the Indian Air Force, I have got the practical experiences of that. If that's what I talked about, the catalytic converters. If you put just at the exhaust, then you can, the toxic gases can be converted to toxic gases. And of course, in the exhaust, one of the gases is methane. And if methane, you can convert by the chemical reaction to ethane, and from ethane again you can convert into ethanol, and that ethanol is used for the biofuel as a one thing. And actually in the Uttarkashi, Uttarakhand, government of India has already put a very big plant to create the ethanol.
Unfortunately, you know, my point was that the aviation, it is not aviation fuel which has to be used in this engine, it is the natural gas which will be fed into the aero engine.
That's correct, because natural gas is not having much of the the toxic elements, though it does have, but it is not having to that extent. I think now our convener is very right, and I request him now to conclude and say the vote of thanks. And we take apologies from the viewers due to some technical problems and some things we could not finish on time, though I became very bad with the people, but still my apologies for that. Thank you very much.
Sir, apology for my side, क्योंकि लोग तो सुनना चाहते हैं। देखिए अभी भी 90 जो है पर्सन का उपस्थिति है यहाँ पर। जब हमने शुरू किया था तो 150 तक लोग थे, मेंबर थे जो सुन रहे थे इसको।
नहीं सुरेंद्र जी, गूगल मीट पे इतनी उपस्थिति है, ये प्रोग्राम यूट्यूब और फेसबुक पे लाइव है।
जी जी
हाँ, बहुत बड़ी संख्या में उपस्थिति है, मैंने इस पे रीचेक किया है, तो इसलिए इस कार्य की सफलता प्रोफेसर गोस्वामी जी के नेतृत्व में सिद्ध है, क्योंकि सारे विश्व में दुनिया बात
जी बधाई के पात्र हैं गोस्वामी जी और पाठक जी और मैडम आप, क्योंकि आप लोगों ने ये सब ऑर्गेनाइज किया और हमेशा चलता रहेगा। बहुत अच्छा जी, बहुत बहुत बधाई हो।
तो बिंदिया जी इज देयर?
Yes, sir.
ओके, सो फाइनली हम लोगों ने जो सोचा था प्रोफेसर गोस्वामी के नेतृत्व में इसकी एक संकल्पना बनाई थी, और उन्होंने सभी वक्ताओं का चयन किया था और बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से ये वेबिनार हमारा संपन्न हुआ। इसमें बहुत सारे मुद्दे जो हैं उभर के आए हैं, और जो संकल्पना है विश्वविद्यालय की, जिसमें प्रोफेसर आशा शुक्ला जी जो वाइस चांसलर हैं उन्होंने चेयर को क्रिएट किया है, और मुझे लगता है कि ये जो चेयर है इसका भी ये पहला वेबिनार है, फर्स्ट वेबिनार है, और अभी आगे जाके बहुत सारे वेबिनार जो है हम लोग प्लान करेंगे और उससे जो हमारी कार्य परिषद है, जो वाइस चांसलर की जो संकल्पना है, परिकल्पना है, वो साकार होगी और एक अच्छा एनवायरनमेंट बन के हम लोग विश्वविद्यालय की तरफ से कोई एक समाधान जो है वो मानव जाति के लिए, सरकार के लिए, मंत्रालयों के लिए जो है हम लोग दे पाएंगे और एकेडमिक्स में भी कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट कर पाएंगे। इसी संभावना के साथ ये कार्यक्रम काफी सफल हुआ है। मैं विंध्या तातेड़ जी को आभार प्रदर्शन के लिए आमंत्रित कर रहा हूँ।
Thank you, sir. Professor Surendra Pathak, sir. It's my privilege to propose vote of thanks to all. So first of all, I wish good evening to all. And we are very knowledgeable and key person in this national webinar. And like today's webinar is on innovative solutions for mitigation of environmental pollution, control of global warming, and sustenance of peace. Really, the talk of all the distinguished speakers. And we have lots of discussions related to different aspects of pollutions, marine pollutions, global warming, ozone layer depletions, air quality degradations, cosmetic cognitive restructuring, and we also discuss on some aspects of spirituality, peace, and how we can save on Mother Earth. So really, all the speech of our distinguished speaker was very, very inspiring, and it was very learning session. And I hope the webinar on which the topic is very successful, and the audience is also very much eager to listen more. But due to the limitations of time, we are in a limitations of time. So first of all, I propose my vote of thanks to our honorable Professor Professor Asha Shukla ma'am, who gave us such an opportunity to organize such kind of national and international webinar. Thank you so much, ma'am. I also propose my vote of thanks to honorable our chairperson of our national webinar, Professor Dr. V.K. Goswami, former Vice Chancellor and President, Environment and Peace Foundations, ECC and ER Chair, Browse. I also extend my gratitude to our chief guest of our national webinar, Professor P.B. Sharma sir, Vice Chancellor, MIT University. And sir, the question answer discussion was very fruitful, and within such a short time, you give us a lot of information. Thank you so much. I also extend my thanks to our keynote speaker of the webinar, Air Vice Marshal Professor Ajit Tyagi, ex-director chairman IMED. Sir, it was very learning and fruitful sessions. We are able to get very much knowledge from you. I extend my gratitude to respected distinguished speaker of this national webinar, Professor S.K. Tyagi, former additional director, CPCB, professor at OPJS University, Rajasthan. Thank you, sir, for your such an distinguished speech. I also extend my deep gratitude to another distinguished speaker, Dr. C.K. Bhardwaj, sir, Science and Spirituality Chair, Browse. Thank you so much, sir. I also extend my deep gratitude and thanks to distinguished Professor Speaker, Professor P.C.S. Devra, Director, Center for Excellence in Ocean and Atmospheric Science, MIT University. Thank you so much, sir. I also want to extend my gratitude for Pawan Kumar, sir, but due to reservation of some time or some special assignment, he may not be joining this platform. So, but I really want that in next webinar we should get some learning from him also. And also I give my thanks to Professor Surendra Pathak sir for organizing such a program convener, for organizing such a relevant and successful webinar. Thank you, sir. And with all, I also want to extend my thanks to Professor D.K. Verma sir, Dean and Director Browse, Professor Manisha Madam, our Dean at Browse, our Registrar Sri Ajay Verma sir, Assistant Registrar Srimati Sandhya Malde and Deepak Karthari sir, and all the HODs of the department, all the guest faculties, consultant, all the teaching and non-teaching faculties, research scholars, students, Mostly I also like to thanks to the audience because they are watching us and they are continuously engaging with the discussion from last more than it's going to be 3 hours. And so I thanks to the audience first and all the audience who have joined with us through Facebook and YouTube. And if I have missed any name, I want to take apologize if I have if any name is missing. So
IT department.
yes, sir.
IT department.
Thank you. So I also want to thanks. We want all such kind of encouragement and support from all you all, so that we can organize such future events, and especially to our honorable Vice Chancellor ma'am for her dynamic leadership and always blessings to organize such webinars. So I am very thankful to our honorable Vice Chancellor ma'am and also to our registrar sir. Thank you so much. And as to tomorrow, we are celebrating Independence Day. So I want to wish Happy Independence Day to all. Thank you so much. With the permission of Chairperson and Honorable Vice Chancellor ma'am, and I just want to convey should be if they give us permission to just wind up the session.
Yes.
So I just want to take the permission from Chairperson and Honorable Vice Chancellor ma'am. So,
Happy Independence.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Happy Independence Day to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day to all.
Professor Goswami, successfully. Thank you.
It was wonderful.
Congrats.
It's a great, successful webinar.
Thank you very much. And I, on behalf of audience, which is generally, I feel the webinar and conferences should not be stereotyped that you take the bags and which we don't give in webinars and keep the house and throw it away and then nobody sees that. So my request to Honorable Vice Chancellor is that let's publish the proceedings of the people who have sent the power plan presentation in the same form of presentation. Let's give the proceeding, if possible, printed. Of course, the e-proceedings will not be difficult. But again, though I am a highly technical person, but there is no comparison to the professors and there is no comparison to the printed materials. So let's have the printed proceedings. You cannot have everything with the e-learning and other things. I'm not against anything, but you cannot replace human mind and you cannot replace the printing, whatever may be. So my request to all, so that the material, the people who, given their experiences, given their brain, should not be lost. And it should, and that proceeding should be given to the government of India so that they realize that there is one university in our country who is really working something. And we also get an encyclopedia, a Bible to work in future based on that.
प्रोफेसर गोस्वामी, ये आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी है, आपकी चेयर है, आपका प्रोग्राम था, जो मर्जी आए आप करिए और जो हमसे करवाना है वो हमें. Thank you.
Thank you. My personal thanks to Sundar. Very nicely, Sundar, you organized. I called him Surinder. He is a very learned person for me. He is very
यही हैं जिनके हम सब जुड़ गए हैं. Thank you. Good night,
सर. दो बार लाइट चली गई, उसके कारण से डिस्टरबेंस हुआ थोड़ा मेरे घर में. तो फिर मैं डाटा से कर रहा था तो थोड़ा शेयरिंग में हुई, उसके लिए मैं क्षमा चाहता हूँ. माननीय कुलपति महोदय की तरफ से इस कार्यक्रम की समाप्ति.
पाठक जी, जितनी चीजें हुई हैं वो उतनी खूबसूरत हुई हैं. जो कुछ गड़बड़ी हुई है वो छोड़ दो, भूल जाओ. बहुत ही अच्छा हुआ है. थैंक यू.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, one and all.